So at the beginning, I don't know if we really had a vision. I find this is kind of the way things work out. We didn't really have a big vision about where it was going to go. We had an itch to scratch, and we had our own itch to scratch. Specifically, I had a long history in an oil and gas service space with Schlumberger, and then left to start my own startup. Justin had quite a bit of history. Another director of Unearthed had quite a bit of history in the oil and gas space as well, and he had a startup. And we both found we were having the same issues with startups in the resource space, which was, even though we think we had the right tech, and there could be some questions on that, we think we had a great product that would make a difference to these organizations. They weren't able to really truly interact with startups. So we were thinking, well, we've got a startup, we've got to get them to interact with startups, we've got to get them to interact with outside vendors. What can we do? And we knew a PowerPoint presentation, you could speak till you're blue in the face. It wasn't going to make a difference. You had to show them why they needed to interact with outside innovators and entrepreneurs and organizations, and why they needed to be more open. And that's where we came with the idea of doing a hackathon, very focused on the industry, grabbing industry challenges and data. So taking what they consider to be their core competency, what they're great at, and opening that up to somebody that's never seen a mine before in their life, never seen an industry challenge, and see what they could deliver. And if they can then deliver interesting, novel approaches, I think we're onto something. And so that's what happened. We did the first event just to scratch our own itch. Didn't have any big, broad vision, but saw that they were, of the 80 innovators that came down for that very first event, 60 to 70% didn't know what mining was, never been on a mine site, no clue. And they were able to come up with really intelligent, interesting prototypes to the challenges that the miners faced that could make direct impact. I mean, the large boulder on site issue that was from the first one at that time was the #1 downtime issue across hard rock mining in WA. It's like billions of dollars a year in lost time. So it's a big, massive issue. And these guys were able to come up with a pretty novel approach. So after that, then we actually then stopped. So after the first event, we were like, oh, well, that kind of worked. That's pretty awesome. We took a step back, and then we looked at the total market, and we looked at the resource industry in general. We looked at what we thought was going to be some future applications. We actually did a paper and a write-up around why a resource accelerator would be critical for the industry here in Australia, for the Department of Industry. And through that process, we really kind of galvanized around this vision of markets are more global than ever, products are more global than ever. You really have to be focused around your core global competencies. We really like Australia. We really enjoy Perth. To us, one of the major core competencies is the resource space. So how do we create Perth and Australia as the global resources innovation hub? How do we make it the most exciting place to come and deliver new products, deliver new applications of the resource space? And that's how we started to get that vision for Unearthed, which hopefully is a bit bigger than just Unearthed. Yeah, so it was very much, it's this kind of really neat package for bigger objectives with hackathons. And the two big objectives is, one, we fundamentally need to change the culture within the resource space. And it's that, when we say that we need to change it, it's like, that means that the past culture is bad. That's not the case. The past culture was amazing. The way that we ran operations and the way that we designed the businesses was 100% right for that time and for that space and for those technologies that were available. But with technology today, with the connectedness of minds, of information, of data, we have to reform how we interact and how we create the process, how we do the work. And we think there needs to be a cultural shift. We need to get the people on mines or planning mines to be really truly digital native, to understand what it means to work with digital data and how that becomes the driver of their work. And so I think there's a big cultural change to come through, and the hackathons help and promote that. That's one. Two is, when we were looking at, we actually kind of wanted to start a technology accelerator straight away, and there was we started looking around for companies, and there wasn't actually a lot of companies that you could just go and start to support. So then we went, well, I think that makes sense. You really only create a company or you create a business or a product if you know the challenge, if you know the issue. So we need the industry to be more open, transparent. We need them to open up their challenges, their issues to more people, so that more people can come and solve them. And that means we can create more products, we can create more companies, and so on. So the hackathons really solves both that and the cultural change. That's one vehicle. I think that vehicle's been great. I think it's going to continue to grow, but it will adapt. So we do online challenges, we do global hardware hackathons. I think it'll continue to change, but the key components around being more open, transparent with the challenges and the issues we have won't change, and getting that cultural shift about the work that's coming won't change either. Yes, we've had quite a few, and so we've done 16 events now. Every event, there's one or two interesting concept prototypes that go forward or should go forward, and it's interesting to see the results as they go. But the first one, and the fact that Newton Labs, a company that came out of that and is now doing work with Rio and with other large miners, that's a great outcome. So no experience in the mining industry at all, strong technical background, come up with a novel prototype that they can then get supported through Accelerator to go from prototype to product and build out a company. It's kind of a nice complete package. But there's been other really good applications. In Cape Town, when we ran the event in South Africa, I was really impressed with the talent, super good technical talent. And there was a challenge around offshore diamond mining from De Beers. And they basically vacuum up the seafloor, siphon out the diamonds, and then replace it. And through that process, they have to wait for the materials to come all the way to surface. It's a 6-minute cycle time, and a minute and a half is just waiting for it to come to surface. So if they had a way to analyze it right at the bit, at the vacuum, at the point of contact, they could save up to a minute and a half on every cycle. That's 6 minutes. So it's a really big potential savings. So they gave us an audio file they put a hydrophone directly against the head. And there was a guy on a weekend that came up with this great, simple application and display that was able to give them all the information they needed, predict what layer they're in, give them efficiency, and it was just almost ready to deploy after a weekend. Their procurement took over 9 months to manage it, but the application was built just on a weekend. It was really impressive. Wow. And then there's a whole bunch past that. So. Interesting questions. I think there's challenges of today, and then there's challenges of tomorrow. Today, there's a lot of challenge around data. How do we use data? How do I get data throughout my process? How do I make better and faster decisions with that data? How do I get more sensors involved in my operations to sense issues that are going to be going on and then integrated throughout alerts and so on? So that's today. I really feel like the challenges of tomorrow is how do we re-architect our business to be data focused? What does it look like when computers are making 90% of the decisions on a mine site? And that's not just autonomous vehicles, but that's like throughout the processing plant, throughout operations. And instead, humans are supporting those machines and improving them and being more creative and understanding holistically what's happening and trying to make larger improvements as opposed to just tick type changes. So I think there's two sides. Today is really what do we do with all this great stuff that's coming in, or how do we get more great stuff to continue to make the improvements we need, and then like long term, it's like actually how do we re-architect the way that we look at mining. Within Unearthed, we want an entrepreneur to have a clear line of sight from issue through to prototype, through to product, through to company, through to growth. And so in that, you need to have hackathons to be able to get people involved, or open activities to get people involved, to get that prototype, to get those collisions going so you can create that one company out of however much activity that you're having. And then once you create that company, you need to support that company from prototype to product and into their growth phase. And that's where the accelerator kicks in. So we want to get great individuals, great teams with a strong desire to solve an industry challenge, and we want to put them in a collaborative setting with a structured program to get their business formed, to get the right mentors, the right coaching, and the right clients involved, to co-create from prototype to product and have a finalized product together in 6 months. We think it's key in the mining and the resource industry for it not to be some independent guy trying to knock on doors, but actually to be have as much access as possible to the people they need to talk to and to the companies that they can create with. So on that, we are running, so the accelerator is kicking off right now in Brisbane. We closed our applications for this year. It will be run with a good startup partner, River City Labs, which is a great, good organization there. It's going to be a 6-month program. The first 3 months are very structured to really help these kind of young entrepreneurs get from that 0 to 1 phase. Bill Withers, not the singer, but the founder of Acquire, which is a global company, Mets software company, is the lead mentor. And we have a whole bunch of great additional mentors that are there and supporting the program. So we're quite excited for it to be kicking off this year in Brisbane. If you look at some of them, they send the decision makers, the people in ops, they get down, they co-create the entire weekend, and then they're like, I want to work with this person, this group, I want to work with this group, and they're much more serious about pushing things forward. And then as they push it forward, they find that these groups need that support to properly form their business, to get in the right organ. And then they go, well, where is that? And we're telling them that we think the accelerator is the right mechanism. Very much in parallel, as they work with them, they have somebody that supports and makes sure that they build longevity and resilience into their business. What do I hope within the industry is that we start to balance that. I understand why we need to price in risk. I understand why we have to have very heavy processes that manage risk very well. But let's not forget about opportunity. And I think too many times we have.
And is part of the rationale for these big guys, or what you sell to these guys, is, almost outsourcing the opportunity function to?
Yeah, I hope not. I mean, the reason I have the reaction is I don't want Unearthed to be, this kind of, I want it to be an opportunity enabler. Yeah. I want it to be new, novel approaches for them to be able to manage with great outside innovators. That hopefully then filters back into their organizations, and they're realizing they're not going fast enough. They need to change their approach, that there is amazing talent out there, but they physically can't work with it right now because they don't have the right procurement process. They don't have the right risk approach for these young companies. And so I'd rather it's that opportunity enablement from both sides.
Yeah, so you guys are the vehicle, but they still need to change their view on to what extent, opportunity versus risk.
Yes, we need to get opportunity in. And, one of the sayings I say is we need to get procurement from days, not to from months to days, right? Like fundamentally, we got to switch from it takes X months to do something to it takes X days. Yeah. And if there's not a focus on that, if that's not considered valuable, then there's something wrong. Yeah. And it means really with some of the best and the brightest, if your procurement is a month or it's months, That means that your company, your organization has to have a balance sheet of X to be able to manage this process. And all the companies that don't have this massive balance sheet won't be able to work with you. So you're kind of this whole entire side of the market. You're just saying, no, I'm sorry, we can't work with you. And again, it's okay as long as you're very conscious about that. You understand that you're missing all that opportunity.
And what's the feedback from the industry when you make that statement? Like, are they self-aware to go, yeah, we identify this as an issue, or?
In the last, only this year, so the last 3 to 6 months, have we had industry come to us and say, we think we might want to work with startups.
Right.
And what does that mean? And how do we make changes? And how could we do that?
Right. Okay. And so what do you say? Like,
Well, we start talking about these type of initiatives, like how do you properly price in opportunity and you don't fully take in risk? How do you take your procurement, from months to days? It's a different. So how I put it is, in Toronto, it was this real eye opener. Amazing individual talent, super capable engineers that are doing like great data work across industries. There's a group that was coming out of finance that was doing this just amazing data work, right? They're very loose, and there's a lot of demand for them.
Yeah.
And this is this outside group, and the industry just hasn't normally had to work with this, right? They're the big industry, they have the asset, they have the money, you must come to me to work to me. So they're always expecting it to be inbound. And now there's talent that they need that will make a difference in their organization that is no longer inbound. It's just not like, oh, you're going to make it painful. You're going to not pay me for months. I'm barely going to get on your payroll. Like, I'm not going to get access to your data. Oh, geez, screw it.
It's too much.
Yeah, and so you're going, crap, I need that talent. But where the model was, I was I had the asset, I had the finance, come to me. That's no longer the model. I actually have to figure out ways to go outside my organization and engage with outside people and get them excited about coming and working for me. I don't believe the way that we're going to invest and create companies in the mining and the resource space will be the same as Silicon Valley and that whole consumer space. I don't like let's make Silicon Valley everywhere. Like, that model works extremely well for that space. And so what we're trying to do and build here and the approach to getting new companies off the ground, I think, needs to be fit for purpose for the industry, and it won't be a replicant of that, which is a good thing. It's a totally different space. Yes, so I say that because then the unicorn connotation kind of comes all from that space and what we look at and so on. Now, do I think we're going to have a $1 billion mining tech company? 100%. 100% we're going to get there. Yeah. The mining space is still extremely fragmented in the way it manages its data, the way it manages a lot of its organization. It's inefficient. And as it continues to become more efficient, the value will start to get concentrated. And if there's a few really good tech companies, they're going to see that concentration come together. If I looked at the areas that I think there's a ton within geological data and computation. It's this, if somebody knows how to manage it extremely well and get a substantial amount of data and then become a data leader and then create all the tools on top of that, that create the outcomes and the outputs for exploration, that could very quickly move into a very, very big company. And I think the platforms are there to make that happen. Also, I think we're just starting. The autonomous space it is going, I know it's going, but it hasn't hit the most efficient, and it's very much an individual vendor or individual piece of equipment and there's something there around the platform play, and so maybe there'll be something that comes up around that operational space. And then I think there's huge potential things that aren't digital. If you can get rid of some of these pretty horrible chemicals in a lot of the process, you can make big companies fast. The community engagement's only going to get more, and so how you do better within your community, how you give back to your community, how you make your community safer, if there's products in line with that, they have huge potential. We're going to do demo day every year, no matter what. It will happen here in Perth as a minimum. It's a time to showcase what new, interesting, young technology is coming through. We're big fans of not just kind of, talking point presentations, but really showcasing product and showcasing what's happening. And so that will be consistent. And then having interesting, clever talks from people that are in the trenches delivering these type of applications, or on the other side of the fence trying to bring these applications into their business. And so I think this last demo day was quite interesting. And even if you look 2 demo days before the one that we ran in 2015, so Newton Labs was there, and they're continuing to move forward. There was a couple other companies. Actually, one of them ended up closing down, but most of the others have continued and going extremely well. One of them, Propeller, has now raised, I think they've raised a total of $8 million. They're really driving hard into kind of the platform for drone data, and they're doing a really good go of it. And they work with a lot of big industry clients. So it's great to see them come in, have a platform to showcase, hey, this is what we're building, this is the tech that we think is really interesting, and then get the contacts to continue that growth. I see Demo Day in the future. Hopefully we can continue to grow it so it becomes this natural place, like, oh, I've got a really cool new tech within the mining space, within the resources space. Have we applied for Demo Day? Have we tried to get in? Who's going? And it's not a trade show when you're there, right? It's very much an interaction. It's a presentation. It's tech. And I would like to see it like that to continue. There was Mineralize from Sweden. All these. It'd be great, right? Like we have one of our key goals, what we put on Unearthed was, how can we get somebody from the Silicon Valley to apply and come to Australia to build it? Because Australia is the best place for them to build their resources-focused startup. It's really hard to answer that question in 20 years. Broadly, I see a lot less mining, to be honest. I think we're going to continue to get better at using what we have. And if we don't have that in our plans, then we should. Substantially, we're going to get better at using what we have. So that's one. Like everybody else, see this going from human-centric design and work. So humans are making the decisions and deciding to data-driven, computer-driven work. That means most of the sites will be completely autonomous, run remotely, continuous mining, real-time sensors throughout the site, and the humans will just be maintaining and managing and improving that operation, but not actually going and doing the work or making those key decisions. And then I really see mining much better integrated with the communities in the future. I think we were way too standoffish for way too long. And we need to get, from the beginning, everybody involved, understanding what the value is when we go and deliver these things, and then putting some plan to the future. We can't it's not good enough to go and just mine and then forget it. There has to be a long-term plan.